Hello, Kevin here. It's been a little while. Sorry, it's been a kind of a busy couple of weeks for me here. We're finishing up finals week and graduation here at the college where I teach, and then I've had some sickness in the family and just some other things going on, so haven't been able to do my regular weekly video, but getting back to that now. So this is part 6 in our hymn playing course, and as I mentioned last time, we're going to be talking today about how to add intros, how to do an introduction. So the song leader gets up and announces, this is the page we're going to be in, here's the name of the song, and usually at that time, the pianist, the instrumentalist, is going to be playing what we call an intro or an introduction. And what that does is that kind of starts getting in people's ear the melody of the song, and gets them the key, obviously, so that they know what note they're starting on. Helps the song leader know what note to start on. If there's no intro, then he's just going to pick a random key, and it's probably not going to be the same key that's in the hymnal that you're going to be playing in. So introduction is very important. And really, I've listed 3 main purposes for the introduction, and that is, as already mentioned, to establish the key, and then to, number 2, establish the melody. If somebody didn't happen to hear the number or name of the song, but if they hear the intro, they might be able to go, oh yeah, I recognize that tune. I know what song we're singing. And then number 3, it gets people ready. It should get people stirred up and energized and ready to sing out joyfully and heartily as unto the Lord, which is the kind of congregational singing that we want. So you should play an intro in such a way that it makes people want to sing. It builds up energy and it gets people ready to sing the song. So those are the 3 main purposes. Give the key to the song leader and the congregation. Give the melody to the song leader and the congregation. And then also get people build up anticipation for people to sing. So you want lively intros. It doesn't always mean they have to be fast or upbeat. It just means that they need to have life to them. You don't want them to be flat and dull. You want them to encourage people to sing. Okay, so I have 4 main types of intros that I'm going to talk about today, and which one you use is going to depend on the church that you play for. It's going to depend very largely on what the pastor and the song leader that you work with want. Some song leaders like to introduce the hymn and then maybe say something about the hymn, maybe a hymn story, or they like to talk for a little while and give the first verse or the first bit of the first verse. Some of them just say it and immediately they're just about ready to go. So you'll know how long you have for an intro. Typically, I try to say for the average intro, unless you have a song leader that wants something outside this range, generally like 4 bars or so of the song is about as long as you'd want the intro to be, 3 or 4 bars worth of the song. And that kind of gives you a good length of time to get the key established, get the melody established, but not be just playing this solo over there after the song leader's done and they're just waiting for you to finish the intro before they can start singing. So you want to work that out with your song leader. So I would say that right now, before we get into any of this, work all of this out with your song leader. Find out what kind of intro does he like, what helps him the most, what do you think is the best fit for the church. Because some of the ones that I'm going to talk to you about today are going to seem maybe a little different depending on what you're used to hearing, what the congregation is used to hearing, and so they may not be as helpful in your specific church. But I want to talk through the 4 different kinds, as I see it, the 4 different kinds of intros. So I'm going to use the song, All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name, as our example song for this. So most of you probably are familiar with that, but if you're not, it goes like this. Okay, so that's the song. All right, so if I'm wanting to play, we're in the key of G. If I'm wanting to play an introduction for that, here's the typical types we'll use. The most common is what we'll call the last line intro, and that is literally just playing the last line, the last 3 or 4 bars of the song. This works well because it sets you up for that first verse. When you're singing the song, obviously, every time you get to the end of one verse and you sing that last line, you're going to come right in on the next one. So people are already used to, when they hear that little last line melody, of thinking of the next verse of the song, so to speak. So getting that melody, the beginning melody in their head, it works really well for that reason, because when they hear that, they're automatically start thinking of the beginning of the song for the next verse, or the first verse in this case, if you're playing the intro. So in this song, All Hail the Power, if I was going to play a last line intro, it would probably sound like this. Sorry, get my camera adjusted. And then I start into the first verse of the song. You will notice a couple things there. So one is that obviously that was the last couple bars of the song, and crown him Lord of all. And then we start into, you'll notice I kind of slowed down a little bit and held that out a little bit before coming in. That is also going to depend on your song leader and what they want to do. Most song leaders, at least most that I've played for, prefer for you to play the intro and then just kind of hold that last chord out until they bring the congregation in. So that, again, that may not be the song leader that you work with. They may just want to go straight in without slowing down, without any fermata or hold at all. It might be something like this. So let me set this over here again. Sorry. There we go. Notice we just went straight into the song. We didn't slow down. We didn't add any extra beats or hold out that last chord. Lord of all, 2, 3, all hail, right into that next measure. So again, like I said, I've been in very few, maybe not any churches that do that, but that may be what your song leader or your church prefers. So just check with them on that, whether or not you should hold that out, slow it down, or just keep the tempo up and go straight in. That's going to be up to your song leader. So that's a last line intro. Again, this is the most common type of intro. And the main thing there is, again, just make sure that you don't pick something too long. Shoot for I usually say no bigger than 4 bars of the song. If it's longer than that, again, depending on how long your song leader likes to expound after he's announced the number. So you'll have to kind of get to know your song leader and how he introduces songs and the title and the number and everything. I usually, at my church, I wait for our song leader he'll start by saying the number. Usually he'll say the number again, then he'll say the name of the song. And once he says the name of the song, that's when I start my intro. And then while I'm playing it, usually he'll say maybe the number and the name one more time. He kind of has this inner goal of saying the number 3 times before starting the song, just so everybody can hear it very clearly. But your song leader, again, might do something different. So figure out when you need to start, and figure out how long to play. But usually shooting for no more than 4 bars of the song, so that you're not, he gives the number and the name, and then he's just standing there looking at you, and everybody's waiting for you to finish this 32-bar piano solo intro. So, but at the same time, you don't want it to be too short, because you want it to actually be able to hear what song it is and where they're supposed to start, and give them a good foundation of what key you're actually in. So last line, that style, just pick the last 3 or 4 bars of the song usually. Usually it'll make sense. Usually literally where the last line of the text starts is kind of makes sense to use the intro there, okay? First line would be another type of intro. Some people do this. Instead of playing the last line, they'll play the first few bars of the song just to kind of get people set up and so that they can actually hear literally the first few notes that they're going to be singing. So that's the benefit to that, is that it gives them the actual notes that they're going to be singing at the beginning of the song. So some do that, and I've heard this done. So if I were to do that for All Hail the Power, it would sound something like this. Notice a couple things with that. Notice that, again, I slowed down there at the end, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Like I said, that's between you and your song leader, what works best for you. But notice that I ended on my tonic chord, which is my 1 chord. We're in the key of G, so I tried to end on my G chord. Okay? What would not have worked well is to do this. Okay? Sorry. And then to just leave it hanging there on the D chord. The reason for that is just in our minds, that's our dominant chord, our 5 chord, the D chord there in the key of G. And so we want to hear it resolved to the key of G, especially if we're going to slow down and hold it out. It just makes sense in our minds. It makes sense to resolve things to tonic. So that's what I would say. Really, the only stipulation for this type of intro is, again, try to shoot for no longer than 3 or 4 bars and try to end somehow on your 1 chord, on your tonic chord. So pick a stopping point that's within that range of 3 to 4 bars and that's on your 1 chord rather than on your 5 or any other chord, especially in that key. And that just makes sense to kind of hold out that 1 chord when until they're ready to start the song. Okay, so that's first line. So we had the last line, the first line. The next kind is what I'm going to call a mixed intro. And what this is it's kind of a blending between those two. You play a couple bars or a bar or so of the first line, and then you kind of mix it together with the ending of the song. And so that creates something like this. So if I were to do a mixed intro for this song, it would sound like this. So notice we did the first bit of the song, all hail the power of Jesus' name, and crown him Lord. We jumped straight to the ending of the song. Okay, so that's why I call it a mixed intro. You're mixing the beginning of the song with the ending of the song. That kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you the first line that you're going to be singing, but then it also prepares you by playing that final line like the last line intro did and gets you ready to want to come in on that first verse. Okay, this works. This works pretty well. The catch here on this one is knowing where to execute that split point between the beginning and ending. Make sure that you can do it seamlessly, because there are definitely a lot of bad ways that you could try to jump suddenly from the beginning to the end of the song. So you want to be able to go through it in your head and maybe even practice it ahead of time and know exactly how you're going to execute that. But when done well, it works very well. Okay, so another example, if we were playing At Calvary, which I've been kind of using as an example song for this whole series, would be this. Okay, so I started the first little bit of the song, years I spent in vanity and pride. Then we jump straight to the end, at Calvary. So again, that's the mixed intro. It takes a little bit from the beginning, a little bit from the end. And if you can do it in time without adding any extra beats and throwing off your meter, without any weird chord resolutions or breaks in the middle, if it just flows very seamlessly, then that works well. So that's just going to be something that you're probably going to have to hear and work out by ear and work out ahead of time. Unless you're very, very good at improvising and can hear things and just instantly be able to work them out on the spot, I encourage you to try to work these out ahead of time. So I like that style of intro. It works really well. It's very creative. And like I said, it gives you the best of both worlds. It gives them those first few notes, but it also gives them the ending of the song to prepare them for the beginning. Just take your time on those and work those out. But that's the mixed style of intro. Okay, the last one is the one that is the most creative, but it's also probably the one that you're not going to use super often for a couple reasons. One is that it's original. So this is what I would call the original intro. And this is where you actually improvise or make up something completely original that's not necessarily in the song itself and make up your own intro to the song. The reason that I am hesitant to recommend this is because if you're not careful, you could come up with this beautiful sounding piano solo, but people still have no clue what song you're playing an intro for. So you need to make sure that if you do this, one of the crucial elements to this original style is that you use some kind of theme from the song itself, a melodic theme from the song itself. Remember, I said one of the purposes of the intro is to introduce the melody of the song. So if you're going to come up with something original, you need to at least somewhere incorporate the melody in such a strong way that everyone will be able to clearly tell what song you're introducing. Okay, so let me play this, and let me give you some of the features of this that I think are pretty unique. So if I were playing an original intro on "All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name," I might do something like this. Okay, so notice there was a lot to take in there. So I'll show you the chord progression here in a minute. But the main thing is I started out with the melody of the song, "All Hail the Power," and then I just repeated that on different pitches, but that's those same intervals. So that kind of cements that theme in people's mind as they're hearing the number, hearing the name from the song leader, and then hearing that melody. That should get that song in their head. Okay. And then the other neat thing about this is I worked through this chord progression that led me, instead of into my tonic chord, it led me to my dominant chord, to my D chord. So this is an example of a kind of intro that can be very, very well done if you are going to come straight off of the intro in what I call in meter. So what we talked about earlier, that a lot of song leaders like you to hold out that last chord and then they'll bring everybody in. But if you are in that rare situation where the song leader actually wants to come straight in with no pause, no retardando, nothing, just straight in time into the song, dun, 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 all hail, then you can actually go in and end your intro on your dominant chord, and that actually almost preps people even more, because they want that resolve to your one chord. They want the resolve from D to G, and that comes when they sing all hail. And so if done well, this kind of intro can really rouse people and get them excited to sing that next or that first line of the song. So let me play that for you again. That's a G chord. I'm just playing the first part of the song there, and then I do that again. And what I'm doing here is I'm just playing that same exact melody, only in A instead of in G, one step up. But I'm keeping the G as a pedal tone in the bass. So here's the beginning. G pedal tone stays down here, and now I'm going to play that melody on A. Okay, ending on the C sharp there. And then now I'm going to go through this walking progression, starting on my 2 minor, A minor, that's just going to walk me into my D chord. And I'm actually going to do a suspended chord. And then now everybody's ready for that G chord to come back again. You're probably ready for it to come back again if you're listening to this. And that's when you start into the song. So here's the whole thing again. Okay, good. Again, very creative, but some drawbacks to this would be if you're used to a song leader in a congregation that's used to kind of holding things out on that one chord, this is probably going to throw them for a loop. That's why I say make sure you get with your song leader ahead of time on these. Also, notice that you're going straight in meter, which means that here you're setting the tempo. One purpose of the intro that I did not give you earlier, because I don't think it's actually the purpose of the pianist to do this, is to set the tempo. You notice I said the intro should set the key, should get the melody in people's minds, should make them want to sing. But I didn't say it sets the tempo. Even though you might think, well, I'm playing first, so shouldn't I set the tempo? You should try to play in a tempo that's close to what your song leader is going to be leading in. But there are many times that I'll play an intro, but my song leader wants to maybe take it a little slower or speed up. And as a song leader, he should be the one people are following. He should be confident and leading strong enough to where he can set the tempo. So although I'm going to try to follow him and try to set a tempo, especially the more I play for him and kind of know what tempos he likes, I'm still going to leave that up to him. I'm not the song leader, he is. So he's going to set the tempo. So with this type of intro, though, since you're going straight in, you're kind of setting the tempo. There's really no choice. The song leader and everybody has no choice but to follow you. Dun, 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 dun. All hail the... It doesn't really work to slow down after that. If he wants to do it slow, grand, and broad, he has to kind of go with the tempo or it will throw everybody off. So that's another reason. This is going to be used very rarely, this type of intro. It's super creative. I love it, but you've got to be super careful with it. So if you're going to use it, if it works in your scenario for your church, try to establish the theme of the song, all hail the power, and then do something with that, maybe something, improvise a little bit with that over a chord progression that's going to lead you naturally to your 5 chord, and then dun, 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 set people up to come into that 1 chord. So that's the way I like to do those. Again, you're just going to have to be very careful with what you do with those, or how often you use that. It may not work in your church. So those are the 4 types of intros: last line, first line, mixed, where you kind of take a little bit of both, and then the original that we just talked about. Each of them has their own benefits, their own drawbacks. Again, talk to your song leader, figure out their style, what works best for them, and then you kind of make your choices based off of that. But those are your basic 4 options for intros. Hope that helps you. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, Excellence in Church Music on YouTube, like and follow the page on Facebook, Excellence in Church Music. I'm trying to put these videos out hopefully more regularly now. Hopefully they're a help to you. So we're still going to be talking about some other things here with hymn playing, invitation style. We're going to be talking about runs and fill-ins in the left hand and the right hand. So stay tuned for more of that to come. Thanks for watching today. Hope it was a help.